It was the biggest wedding Lagos had seen in years. Bright golden drapes lined the massive white canopy tent, and chandeliers swayed softly in the ocean breeze. Guests in richly embroidered agbedas and sparkling jellies flooded the grounds of the Grand Oasis Event Center, their laughter echoing above the soft jazz band playing in the corner. This wasn't just any wedding. This was the wedding of Obinna Kalu, the only son of Madame Nika Kalu, one of the wealthiest women in West Africa, a self-made billionaire known for her chain of international fashion boutiques and philanthropic empire. Nika had raised Obinna alone after the tragic death of her husband decades ago. To everyone watching, this day was the crowning jewel of a life well lived, a celebration of a mother's labor and a son's loyalty. But behind Nika's proud smile was something she couldn't ignore, a strange tension. Obinna had become increasingly distant ever since he met Isioma, his soon-to-be bride, sweet in public, but icy behind closed doors. She came from old money, the type that turned up its nose at Nika's humble beginnings. And ever since the engagement, Isioma and her mother had tried to downplay Nika's role in the wedding. Planning still, Nika chose grace over conflict. She had fought too many battles in her life to allow another one to stain her son's big day. Until she arrived at the reception, Nika stepped out of her black G-Wagon, her gold-laced Iro and Buba shimmering in the sun. Her gel was wrapped high and proud, a queen in her full glory. Camera flashes greeted her, guests clapped, and her entourage ushered her into the tent. But then she stopped, dead in her tracks. There, right in the front row, where her name card had been placed during rehearsals the day before, was a black plastic trash bin. She blinked. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a mistake. It was real, and surrounding it were the bride's family, smirking. Isioma stood by the stage, pretending to admire the flower arrangement. Her mother whispered to her, and they both laughed. Gasps began to ripple through the crowd as people realized what they were seeing. Phones started recording. The music stopped for a moment. Murmurs filled the tent like a rising storm. A waiter, confused, approached Nika. "Madame, please, should I bring another chair for you?" Nika didn't respond immediately. Her hands trembled slightly, but her face remained calm. Years of boardroom wars and business betrayals had trained her well. "Where is my son?" she asked softly. "Inside with the groomsmen, Ma." She turned and walked, her body straight, her chin raised. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Some guests lowered their eyes in shame. Others whispered, "Who would disgrace their own mother like this?" Inside the groom's lounge, Obinna was adjusting his cuffs and laughing with his friends until the door burst open. "Mummy," he exclaimed, standing up quickly. "Don't mummy me," Nika said in a firm voice. "Did you see what your wife and her family placed where I was supposed to sit?" Obinna looked confused for a moment. Then, with a sigh, he said, "Mum, please, let's not cause drama today. It's just a seat." "A seat? You replaced your own mother's seat with a trash bin on your wedding day, and you tell me not to cause drama?" Obinna hesitated, avoiding her eyes. Isioma said it was symbolic. She said your attitude toward her family was toxic, that you disrespected their traditions. She thought this would send a message. Nika's heart broke. "After everything I sacrificed for you, I fed you, clothed you, protected you, and built a future for you. And today, in front of the whole city, you let them reduce me to trash." Obinna looked away. Nika didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just turned around, walked out of the room, and headed back toward the main hall. But she didn't leave. What she did next would silence the entire wedding. As Madame Nika walked back into the hall, all eyes followed her. The air was thick with suspense. The jazz band had stopped playing completely. The MC froze mid-sentence. Even the waiters stopped pouring drinks. The guests, both elite and ordinary, turned in their chairs, watching the billionaire mother of the groom march back toward the front row. But this time, she didn't stop where the trash bin had been placed. Instead, she walked straight to the stage gracefully, like a woman who owned the land beneath her feet. She picked up the microphone from the MC's stand. Everyone stared. Even Isioma, now standing beside the bridal table, paled and clutched her wineglass a little tighter. Nika smiled softly. "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nika Kalu, mother of the groom." A murmur swept through the room. Continued, "I want to thank you all for coming today to celebrate what was meant to be a joyful union. But it appears that this day is no longer mine to celebrate." The crowd stiffened. "You see, just moments ago, I walked into this beautifully decorated tent and found that the seat reserved for me, as mother of the groom, had been replaced." with a plastic trash bin. Gasps echoed across the hall. Some guests shook their heads in disgust. Others whispered furiously among themselves. Phones were already recording. The footage would hit social media within minutes. But I am not angry, Nika said, her voice unwavering. In fact, I am proud. Because today, I realized the value of dignity. I realized that even when people strip you of honor, they cannot strip you of your worth unless you hand it to them. She looked directly at Isiama's mother, whose forced smile was starting to twitch. And for those who thought I would be humiliated, hear this well. I am not a woman you can shame. I've walked through the fire of betrayal. I've raised a child alone with nothing but prayer and grit. And I built an empire from the same streets your daughters dare mock today. The hall was dead silent, not even the clinking of glasses. I came here today expecting to be honored, as a mother. But now, I will walk away honored as a woman, one who knows when to stand tall and walk out with grace. She paused, then looked at the back. Kamsi, she called Dot from behind the crowd. A young lady in her 20s stood up. She was dark-skinned, with a slender build and eyes full of strength. She was one of Nika's trusted personal assistants, known for her loyalty and discretion. Yes, Ma, Kamsi replied. Bring the car. Which one, Ma? Nika's eyes sparkled. The rolls, another murmur. Even the bride's father adjusted in his seat. She turned to the crowd once more. And to my son Obina. I pray that love does not blind you so much that you forget your roots. One day, when the lights fade and the music dies, you will remember who stood by you when no one else did. I only hope you remember before it is too late. And with that, Nika handed the microphone back to the MC and walked off the stage tall, regal, and unshaken. Guests began to clap. First a few, then dozens. Then nearly the whole hall erupted into thunderous applause. Isiama's smile had vanished completely. She looked at Obina, but he avoided her gaze. He was frozen, embarrassed, staring at the bin that sat like a ghost in the front row. Outside, the Rolls-Royce Phantom with cream leather seats and gold-plated rims purred softly. As Kamsi opened the back door, Nika entered gracefully, but before she shut the door, she gave one last glance at the event hall. Let them enjoy their performance, she said. And then the door closed. As the luxury car glided away, guests began quietly excusing themselves from the wedding. Some said they felt uncomfortable. Some said they came to honor Nika, not be part of her public disgrace. Others simply lost their appetite. Within an hour, what was meant to be the wedding of the decade turned into a half-empty hall with whispers, side-eyes, and a looming sense of shame. And it was only going to get worse. Next morning, social media exploded. #TrashBinWedding was trending on Twitter. Across Nigeria, clips of Madam Nika's graceful speech at the wedding were all over TikTok and Instagram. Thousands praised her for her class, while others slammed the bride's family for their arrogance and disgrace. Who puts a bin in place of the groom's mother's seat? This is not culture. This is madness, one tweet read on Facebook. There were even edited photos of the wedding seat, the bin decorated with a lace cap, and captioned, "Mother of the groom, as approved by in-laws." It would have been funny if it wasn't so tragic. Meanwhile, Obina and Isioma woke up to their honeymoon suite surrounded by chaos. News bloggers were calling. Aunties were sending voice notes. Sponsors were pulling back from business deals. Obina, once proud and glowing, now looked like a ghost of himself. His suit was still hung on the chair. His eyes were sunken, his lips dry. "Isioma," he said slowly, "what exactly did you and your mother think would happen?" Isioma scoffed, brushing her weave aside. "Obina, don't start with me this morning. It was just a message. Your mum's always looking down on us. She needed a little taste of her own medicine." Obina stood up and stared at her. "You humiliated my mother. In front of the whole country. Do you know who she is? Do you think people came to this wedding because of you?" Isioma rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting." Obina grabbed his phone and pulled up one of the trending videos. A slow-motion clip of Nika walking away from the stage, with captions like, "Queen moves only." He turned the screen toward her. "Does that look like overreacting?" Isi hesitated. The fear she had suppressed was now creeping in. Back at Nika's mansion in Lekki, the compound was unusually quiet. She sat in her garden, sipping zobo, her phone buzzing endlessly beside her. Calls from senators, governors' wives, business partners. Everyone wanted to show solidarity. Her friend and lawyer, Chief Adebayo, arrived just before noon. "My sister," he greeted, sitting beside her. "I saw the clip. I've never been so proud. Nika smiled faintly. I'm tired, Bae. I worked all my life to raise that boy. I never thought he would let them do that to me. The chief nodded. Sometimes, when a child is lost in a fog, you must take away the light for him to appreciate it. She looked at him. I want to remove him from everything. You mean, yes? His shares in the company. His name from my trust. His access to the foundation. Freeze it all. Chief Adebayo whistled. That's serious. Neka. He'll learn. I gave him the world. Now I will teach him its value. By that evening, news broke. Obinna Kalu had been removed as director from Kalu Couture Holdings. His corporate email deactivated. His luxury apartment under the company name lease cancelled. He didn't know what hit him. Isiama's father, now worried that his son-in-law was financially unstable, called an emergency family meeting. What exactly happened? Why would your mother-in-law pull her son out of the business? Isioma tried to laugh. She's bluffing. She'll come around. But even she knew, Nika never bluffed. Obinna tried calling her 20 times. She never picked up. He drove to her mansion. The security guard politely told him, Oga say you know day enter. He stood at the gate for an hour, then left the same boy who once had Lagos at his feet, now reduced to a man begging for access to his mother's front door. Doored inside, Nika sat by her window, watching it all unfold. Her heart ached, not with bitterness, but with disappointment. I didn't raise a fool, she said softly to herself, but I may have raised a coward. As days turned into a week, Obinna's world began to unravel. His credit card stopped working. His name was removed from luxury accounts. His phone calls went unanswered. Even his former friends ghosted him. At first, Isioma acted like it didn't matter. We still have my father's wealth, she'd say. But she soon found out her father's support came with strings. I warned you not to disrespect that woman, he barked over dinner. Do you know how many investors I've lost this week because of this drama? In desperation, Obinna finally did something he hadn't done in years. He knelt. Not in front of the public, not in front of cameras, but alone. In the church he used to attend with his mother every Sunday as a child. He sat at the last pew and broke down. God, I messed up. I let them insult the woman who gave me everything. I chose pride over love. I chose silence over honor. Please, show me a way back. And the next day he made a move no one expected. It was Sunday morning. The bright Lagos sun had barely risen. But the church compound in Victoria Island was already filled with a quiet, reverent crowd. Some were there for service, others out of curiosity. Why? Because word had spread. Obinna Kalu, the disgraced son of the billionaire, had returned. And not just returned, he had requested to speak publicly during testimony. Inside the church, the atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. Obinna stood before the altar in a plain white kaftan. No designer logos, no bodyguards, no shiny car. Just a young man, broken and determined. He cleared his throat and began. Good morning, church. Good morning, the congregation echoed. My name is Obinna Kalu, and I am here today, not as the son of a billionaire, not as the man who just got married, but as a son who failed his mother. Gasps filled the pews. Some lowered their eyes. Others leaned in closer. I allowed pride, ego, and outside influence to make me forget the woman who gave me life. The woman who struggled alone, selling Ankara fabric from a roadside stall in Yaba, just to send me to school in London. He paused. I let her be humiliated on the biggest day of my life, and I said nothing. That silence haunts me every second. A tear rolled down his cheek, and he didn't wipe it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve it. But I came here because this is where she taught me to pray, where she taught me to kneel before God when I couldn't stand on my own. I am here to say, publicly, that I am sorry. The church was silent. Then, slowly, claps began. First from the pastor, then from the elders, then from the entire congregation. Outside, reporters who had caught wind of his presence were waiting. Obinna didn't run from the cameras. He faced them. I take full responsibility. My mother is a queen, and I allowed her crown to be knocked off. But she didn't scream. She didn't fight. She showed me how true power moves in silence and dignity. I was blind. But now I see. By the next morning, clips from church were trending again. But this time, the nation wasn't laughing. They were watching a man trying to right his wrongs. At her mansion. Madam Nika watched the entire clip. She didn't say a word, just sat, hands folded, breathing softly. Kamsi, her assistant, stood beside her. Ma, will you forgive him? Nika said nothing. Her eyes glistened. But deep inside, a storm of emotions raged. Pain, pride, disappointment. And yes, still, love. Mothers don't stop loving. Even when hurt. The next day, Obina made another bold move. He filed for separation from Isioma. He didn't shout or cause scandal. He simply sent a statement through his lawyer to her family that the marriage, built on pride and dishonor, could not stand. Isioma screamed and wailed when she got the notice. She threatened to go to the press. But her father silenced her. Brought shame upon this house, he said coldly. It is enough. Days passed. Then a week. Then, one bright Saturday morning, a knock came at Nika's gate. It was Obina's gate alone. No drivers, no lawyers, just him, carrying an old wooden stool, the one he used to sit on while doing homework in her boutique shop years ago. I don't want your money, Mummy, he said, kneeling before her gate. I want your heart back. The guards watched, stunned. For hours, Obina sat on that stool, under the scorching Lagos sun. Then Nika came out, dressed in a simple wrapper and blouse. No makeup, no jewelry, just a mother. She walked to him, looked at him, then opened the gate herself. My son, Mummy. And in that moment, with tears falling freely from both their eyes, years of love, pain, and disappointment melted into one long, trembling embrace. I lost my way, Obina whispered. But you came back, she replied. Obina never reclaimed his corporate seat, but he didn't need to. Instead, he started a youth foundation in his mother's name, the Nika Kalu Dignity Project, aimed at teaching young men to honor women, mothers, and elders with the respect they deserve. Nika supported it fully. When they were invited to speak at an international women's conference a year later, mother and son walked in together, not as billionaire and heir, but as a living story of forgiveness, accountability, and redemption. People still talk about the trash bin wedding, but not for the disgrace, for the lesson. Because that day, a mother refused to fight back with insults. She fought back with dignity and changed her son's life forever.